Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the CruitCast. I'm Jason Sukamel, joined as always by Cole Patterson. Cole, we're going to talk a little bit of decommitments today, and we'll get to that in a minute. But before we do, as always, let's talk about our friends at Prime Shrimp. You see it up there at the top, primeshrimp.com, $20 off your first order. Use the promo code OrangeBloods that you get from this video. Get $20 off that first order. Try them all. Try all the shrimp. They're all delicious. They're all easy cleanup. Low time to prep. Really no prep. If you can boil water, you can cook prime shrimp, dude. So go to primeshrimp.com. Get your discount there. Orange Bloods, promo code Orange Bloods, $20 off your first order. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, get all those. Cole and I were just talking with Blake, our producer, off air, that we're going to be adding another show here, recruiting related show, to the YouTube channel. And Cole and I are going to maybe start doing our videos earlier in the week. So, make it easy on yourself. Just subscribe to the channel, get those alerts whenever we do post new content on our YouTube channel. So, Cole, not a ton going on. We've been saying this for a month now. This new deal where the month of February, the entire month is a dead period, right? It's kind of thrown a loop in terms of, sexy content, right? There's just not a lot of it. But, hey, what is it? Today's the 27th. So tomorrow's the last day of February. Then we get into March. Dead period's finally lifted. We're going to have camps. We're going to have visits. We're going to have spring football visits, things of that nature. Yeah, man, it's going to be busy Marches. You're right. But so the big news from this weekend, Cole, I've got to be honest. I'm sitting there at my daughter's track meet. It's Saturday afternoon. I'm sitting out there enjoying the track meet. And I'm not kidding, dude. This track meet, I got there at noon. She didn't run till like 3:30 because it was delayed. And then she had one more event. She runs the very last event of every track meet. But anyway, so I'm sitting there for like 3 hours, and literally a minute before she's about to run, and the run takes 1 minute. So I'm there for 3 hours, and I get to see her run for a total of 2 minutes. She runs the 400. So it's about a minute each time. So I'm out there for 3 hours. A minute before she's about to run, Ketch sends a message, and he goes, Jaden Allen decommitted. Like, oh, perfect. Like, great timing. Yeah, dude, that's we always say that's covering recruiting in a nutshell. We're always on call, and we're like much less important, but doctors who are always on call. So anyways, that's the big news of this week. Was on Saturday afternoon. Texas commitment Jaden Allen decommits. Former Texas commitment Jaden Allen decommits, reopens his recruitment. Not shocking. I mean, we kind of knew that was a possibility with him having taken a visit. But Cole, your kind of thoughts, I guess, when you saw that news come through on Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the decision to decommit wasn't the most shocking thing in the world. But like you said, we weren't really expecting the timing of it per se. Like, he kind of just randomly did on Saturday. No real big lead up or anything. Just kind of tweeted out a graphic and kind of let known that he was decommitting. But yeah, I mean, I think some concerns started to come around when Alabama offered him. Once Alabama offered and he kind of showed interest, took a visit out there, that's kind of made people think there was some concern. But yeah, I mean, Jaden Allen, he was the highest ranked recruit in Texas class going into the weekend. He was, I think, right outside the top 150, right around that range. Really good corner out of Lido. I got my first thought was I think Alabama must be pushing, but that's kind of where I was thinking.
Yeah, it's funny. You and I went in different directions, and you thought Alabama was pushing, and I mean, he did visit Alabama, so we know that they're a team that he likes. But my thought immediately went to, okay, what's that mean for his brother, who's a redshirt freshman now at Texas, BJ Allen? Does that mean that he may be on his way out, and that's remains to be seen. I saw Adam Gorney actually from Rivals.com had in his recruiting rumor mill story today, and I'm just going to look. He said the word is Alabama, USC, and LSU look the best for the 4-star cornerback. Michigan State and Mississippi State could be two others to watch, but it sounds like the Crimson Tide, Trojans, and Tigers are definitely the front runners. Now, if what Gorney's hearing is true, that tells me Texas is probably out for the most part. And usually that's the case. When a guy decommits, it's not often they're going to jump back in the class. I mean, it happens, but it's very rare. And, interestingly, Cole, and I know you reached out to Jaden. I actually reached out to someone close to him who I always talk to yesterday, and I just said, "Hey, man, can we talk off the record? I want to get a little background, just see where this thing might be heading, see if Texas is still in play or is that dead? What might this mean for his brother?" And it was radio silence, dude. No response to my text, no response to my phone call. So I don't know if I'm just kind of reading the tea leaves here. I don't think it probably looks good for Texas to reel him back in, or am I alone in thinking that? I know you know Jaden a little bit, so you thinking this maybe rip the Band-Aid off and maybe he moves on elsewhere?
Yeah, like you said, it's not often you see a guy decommit and then come back to the same school. Obviously, it does happen from time to time. But yeah, same thing. Jaden's usually pretty good about responding. I kind of reached out to see what kind of led to it. Maybe it was the Alabama visit. Maybe, like you said, his brother. Or maybe just wanting to reopen his recruitment as a whole and see what happens. But yeah, I'm not really expecting him back in this class unless, I mean, there's a long way to go. Maybe B.J. Allen gets a starting job at Texas and plays really well, and Texas keeps recruiting Jaden Allen. But yeah, I mean, I do think it's interesting that LSU's in the mix, considering B.J. Allen was committed to LSU at one point in time. Obviously, different staff and everything like that. But yeah, I mean, like you said, those 5 schools, 3 in particular that are in the mix there, kind of shows that if Texas is still on his mind, they're probably on the back burner, and we'll kind of see what happens over the next few months. Maybe we'll get into it, I'm sure, but who Texas is going to look at in the secondary and things of that nature.
Yeah, perfect segue on your part. I want to look at who might be, I want to say, a replacement for Jaden Allen. Jaden's kind of a unique player. I mean, we think he was probably going to be a defensive back, but he could play slot receiver, could do some things at receiver. Just a good athlete they were going to bring in. I mean, probably at defensive back. Let's talk. I'm looking at my recruiting board. This is from a few weeks ago, and honestly, I probably need to update it pretty soon. But there's a lot of cornerback targets that I think are legitimate targets for Texas. I'd say a few that I even have Texas as maybe a leader or right there at the top. So, off the top of your head, Cole, I know you've kind of talked about it or written about it. We'll have something a little bit later today, maybe. But your thoughts? Hey, where does Texas go from here with replacing Jaden Allen?
Yeah, I mean, we expected Jaden to probably play corner, but did play all over. Maybe even safety, considering Blake Gideon was kind of talking to him as well. But just at corner in this state, there's three names that jump out to me Texas has had on campus. And it's kind of in the mix for, or really in the mix for, and that's Kobe Black out of Waco Connolly. You got Selman Bridges from Lake Belton, and you got Braylon Connerly from Tuscaloosa, I believe. So, I mean, those 3 corners in state, Connerly and Kobe Black were both at junior day when we were down there in January. Selman Bridges, obviously from Lake Belton, Central Texas kid, teammate of Micah Hudson. And in the case of Bridges, he's one of the biggest risers in the Rivals rankings. I believe some other services are pretty high on him as well. It's really, I know we've talked about it before, it's huge, 6'4", really lengthy defensive back, kind of playing multiple positions. Kobe Black, though, he seems to be the top guy that they want on their board, top 50 player in the country. Former teammates with Jelani McDonald, also knows Trey Wisner pretty well. I think Texas is, I wouldn't say the team to beat right now. He does have connections to Oklahoma State and a lot of other teams in his recruitment. But I do think Texas is in a good spot for Kobe Black. So obviously you don't want to lose a talent like Jaden Allen, but I think they're still heavily in the mix for other blue chip talent to kind of fill that void, so to speak.
And I think new names will surface. But, it's funny. I mean, you and I are on the same wavelength, and those are exactly the 3 names that I have on my recruiting board. At Kobe Black, and I do find it interesting. I think they're different players than Jaden Allen. I mean, Jaden's smaller and kind of slider frame. I mean, Selman Bridges, you can argue he's slider frame. He's 6'4", though. 6'4", 170.
Trying to mix up
yeah, exactly. But, Kobe Black, I actually have him on my recruiting board. This is from about a month ago, I think. I have him at 55% favoring Texas. So, this is 25 days ago, so a little less than a month ago. But I have him at 55%. I don't think I would back down on that percentage. I think Texas is the team to beat for Kobe Black. Braylon Conley, I had at 40%. I think I might probably raise my percentage there the next time I update it. So I'd probably put him at 50 to 55%. Selman Bridges, a bit of a wild card. I had him at 35% because he hadn't visited Texas, and at that point. Still hasn't. He didn't come for the junior day. I'm expecting he'll be in Austin soon for a visit, though. So I think chances could go up there as well. So there are other options for Texas, and like I said, I expect some new names will emerge as well. I'll tell you one more option, Cole, that we can go ahead and throw out there. Texas commitment, Hunter Modden, who is a wide receiver. I mean, we all thought he'd be a wide receiver. I talked to him last night. He said, hey, man, I'm very open to playing defensive back. LSU was talking to him about defensive back. I asked him, do you have a preference? I was shocked. He said cornerback. I don't think it's a strong preference, but he's that open to – I mean, it's not like, oh, I'll play cornerback in a pinch. I mean, he's very open to the idea of playing cornerback. Yeah, he is. Good athlete, and I told him, hey, it's good to have that kind of versatility and those options. But, we talked. He obviously visited Texas for their junior day in late January. He followed that up with a visit to LSU. He told me he's going to try to come to the Texas junior day in March. He wants to try to get to Oregon, TCU, and some other places for visits. I mean, Texas is going to have to work if they want to hang on to Hunter Modden. But he could be a guy that they could recruit as a defensive back, so he might be able to fill some of that role as well. Interestingly, he told me he hadn't heard from new wide receivers coach Chris Jackson, new Texas receivers coach Chris Jackson yet. So I'm like, well, maybe they do want you at defensive back, or maybe Coach Jackson just been swamped trying to get caught up. I don't know exactly what's going on there, but he's another option that I think would be a legitimate option. So, Cole, one other piece of news that I want to talk to you about, or talk to everybody about. I was able to connect, and I'll have a little bit more detail in my 3-2-1 column today, or probably tomorrow, actually, I guess, on Tuesday. But I did talk to someone close to Jerrick Gibson, the Rivals 100 running back out of Florida, IMG Academy. And I was told flat out by this person, hey, Texas is the team to beat. It's probably Tennessee running second, and then probably Georgia third, Alabama maybe a distant fourth. He's got a bunch of official visits lined up for June already. He's going to see Georgia, then maybe Alabama that second week, Tennessee the third week. Texas gets the last visit in June, and he's probably going to commit in August. So, we'll see. Obviously, there's some big visits, big competition, but this person was like, yeah, I was talking to him, and I think he used the term, he kind of slipped up or something and let it be known that Texas was the leader right now heading into and more as importantly, he's coming in for the spring game too. So he'll be in Austin, twice in a couple months. And he was at the junior day back.
He was back in January. He was on campus.
So that's 3 visits in a matter of from January to June. So pretty good sign for Texas.
Big. Yeah, Tashard Choice done a great job. I do find it interesting, they obviously pulled Cedric Baxter last year out of Florida. They could do the same with Jerrick Gibson. But interesting enough, Baxter was an early Florida State commit. Gibson was was a early Florida commit. So maybe they can go back to back, pull a running back out of the Sunshine State. 2 different schools had them commit, end up in Austin. Tashard Choice has done a great job. It seems like they're, like you said, or reporting, I should say, they're probably the team to be, the leader in the clubhouse. So obviously getting them back on campus again in the spring and then again in the summer, you'd have to like Texas odds.
So I guess what we need to do for the 2025 class is start looking at Miami commitments. They poach from Florida State. They poach from Florida. Maybe they'll get a Miami guy for next year's class. So we need to start looking at that. But yes,
he might be one. He probably has
every commitment list pulled up. 3 visits from January to June, man, that's pretty good for Texas. And you're right. Listen, you highlighted Coach Choice, and I'm going to write about him in my column. He is the reason. I asked this person, why is Texas a team to beat? Because, he's at IMG Academy. He's not a native Floridian. I think Jerrick Gibson maybe lived in Georgia prior to that, I think. But I think he maybe lived in Florida too. I'd have to go back and kind of read up on his background. I'm pretty sure he spent some time in Georgia too. But when I asked this person, like, what's pushing Texas? What's separating Texas? And he's like, Tashard Choice, man. He's just been amazing. And, like, this is something for a different CruitCast, Cole, but, like, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on the top recruiter on the Texas staff. Maybe we pick the top 3. I don't know. That's something we'll hash out maybe for next week or something. But I got to tell you, man, I'm not sure there's many or anybody. Sure. Yeah, he'd definitely be on, I think, both of our lists, and he might be on top of my list. Tashard Choice has done a phenomenal job, and kids relate to him. And listen, we're at the junior day, and everybody's talking about how great it was being in those running back room meetings. And Bijan came back and said, this dude here, Tashard Choice, took my game to the next level. So when you get that kind of endorsement from Bijan Robinson, that carries some weight. So
Jahmyr
great
Gibbs
job.
from Alabama, he said the same stuff as well. I still remember, not to interrupt you, but I still remember back when there was some kind of worry about Cedric Baxter. He was fizzing Florida State, some other schools back in the mix. I was told it's on Choice is still in Austin, Baxter would be in Austin. He's doing something right with with these running backs, and kind of has the cachet. He used to play for the Dallas Cowboys. He can kind of sell people on as well. He's got a lot going for him and good personality as well.
Yeah, great personality. And that's one thing we mentioned is the person. He said, listen, man, he's played that position at a high level. Some of these other running backs coaches that are recruiting Jerrick Gibson didn't even play running back. He goes, I'm not even sure if this one guy played college football. And he goes, they're talking football. Jerrick's teaching him. And then, he goes, with Tashard Choice, it's the other way around. So I'm like, okay, it's pretty interesting. But heck of a job by Tashard Choice. Still work to be done. Still got to close the deal with Jerrick Gibson, but I think Texas looks pretty good right now. So Cole, with that, my man, we're going to put a bow on this one, and wrap it up. It's not the shortest one we've ever done, but certainly not the longest. But like I said, it's not the busiest of weeks either, but that's about to change. You and I were talking. We got Under Armour camp coming up in a couple of weekends, different recruiting events. There'll be visitors for Texas spring football practices, junior day in March. So, you and I will be really busy in March. But all right, guys. Well, with that, that's this week's CruitCast. Do us a favor, go to primeshrimp.com. Use that promo code OrangeBlood to get $20 off your first order. Like the channel or subscribe to the channel. Like the video. Do us a favor on those fronts. And Cole and I will be back soon to talk more recruiting with everybody. This is the CruitCast. I'm Jason Sukamel. That's Cole Patterson. Everyone have a great week and take care.